Hare Krishna. Welcome to our little introduction to the topic of deepening our relationship with the Holy Name. So let me begin by looking at the phenomena of overfamiliarity. Any activity which we do very regularly, or even any person which we associate very regularly, the danger of overfamiliarity sneaking in is very strong. Overfamiliarity means we lose respect for the activity or for the person. We forget what we are doing, with whom we are associating, and therefore we take things cheaply and lightly. So this phenomena of overfamiliarity, this also very easily enters our chanting, especially our japa, because that is something which we hopefully are all doing every day. We are all meant to spend at least 2 hours chanting japa. So very easily this overfamiliarity enters and we take it lightly and cheaply. We forget what we are actually doing. And our chanting becomes simply a dry, ritualistic, routine thing. So as we know, there is 10 offenses to chanting the Holy Name, and the 11th is to be inattentive while chanting. So I always like to deeply discover what it actually means to be inattentive, because that's the root of all other offenses. So in this inattentiveness, this is actually going on 3 levels. On the level of the body, on the level of the mind, on the level of the heart. Or Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains it like the level of the body he calls laziness, the level of the mind he calls distraction, and the level of the heart he calls indifference. So definitely the inattentiveness starts on the level of the body, meaning that we do so many other things while we chant. Walking around, going shopping, sitting on the computer, doing this and that. The list is endless. So many variations of inattentive chanting on the level of the body. So while we are inattentive on the level of the body, there cannot be attentiveness on the level of the mind or heart. So then the inattentiveness on the level of the mind is when the mind is wandering, making so many plans, shopping lists, to-do lists, so many plans for preaching, and. So then the inattentiveness on the level of the heart, this is the most crucial one, actually. Meaning that the heart is simply indifferent. The heart is not involved. We are not chanting in a helpless mood of crying out to Krishna, as Prabhupada was giving. This analogy that we should chant the Holy Name like a child crying out for his mother, in helplessness, in utter desperation. Actually, we can say the child who cries for his mother in utter desperation, he doesn't have the problem of a wandering mind, right? The child is not saying, strange, every time I'm crying out for my mother, I'm thinking of so many other things. No, if the heart is actually involved, then the mind will be drawn to the level of the heart. So the actual key of deeply chanting and also stopping the wandering mind is indeed to involve the heart. Our problem is that we actually can't cry out in helplessness because we are proud. We actually think we don't need Krishna. We think we can do very nicely also without him. That's why Lord Chaitanya says, Tinara Pisunichina. So only if we are more humble than a blade of grass, actually only then we can really chant, then we can cry out in helplessness. So that is actually the main root of our problem, that the mind is wandering. It is because the heart is not involved. That's why Bhaktisiddhanta also says, make you chanting heart deep, not just lip deep. So somehow we have to come to the point of involving the heart. And that is actually deep internal work. Once we discover that, we realize any kind of chanting in public, on the bus, or wandering around, the heart is absolutely not involved at all. So now, interestingly, very briefly, I want to introduce two keys to this attentiveness on the level of the heart. Key number one is chanting with the awareness of a relationship with Krishna, meaning that we mindfully turn towards Krishna when we chant, that we are mindful of his presence. That is the very basis of developing any relationship, right? No relationship develops automatically. So if we want to develop any relationship, we have to be first of all mindful of the person's presence there. And we have to turn towards that person and address him and serve. So unless our chanting is filled deep in the heart with turning towards Krishna, our chanting will not do anything in regards to establishing this relationship. In fact, we can completely miss the target of chanting by keeping our mind busy and completely ignoring Krishna's presence. We can spend like this for lifetimes chanting and absolutely nothing will happen in that relationship. But if we turn towards Krishna, call out to him, Krishna, I know you're there, please accept me. That kind of chanting, that will reawaken the lost and forgotten relationship. So in key number two is not only turning towards Krishna, but longing to serve. That kind of chanting will establish us in our constitutional position of dasya. That kind of chanting which is filled with longing to serve, that will scrub the heart, that will free us from all other tendencies of wanting to enjoy and control. Only that kind of chanting will free us from that. If we chant and we make all plans how we can become more, popular and successful and recognized, then that kind of chanting will not do anything to free our heart from our tendencies to enjoy and control. So that's why even Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes a very strong statement. He says, the chanting which is devoid of this longing to serve is useless. Useless on that absolute platform of wanting to re-establish the relationship and being established in our position of dasya. It is useless. It will not happen if the chanting is not filled with that. So, and of course, so much more can be said. I'm firmly convinced that we have to make some endeavor, ongoingly endeavor, to actually get on deeper levels of chanting in japa as well as in kirtan. And that's why we organize holy name retreats in many different parts of the world. If you want to know, please come and join us on one of those retreats. It will be my greatest honor to welcome you and to serve you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.